Some of you might remember the clarion call of Desh Bachao, DOT Hatao. Do you remember that? That helped take India's telecom system from worst to, I would argue, first in the world. And since its inception, TiE has had three singular objectives that Rahul talked about: to foster entrepreneurship, to mentor aspiring entrepreneurs, and to provide networking opportunities to all its members. We have 15,000 members. Any of you mathematically inclined can tell me how many connections did that create? The formula, NC2. That's 112 million. I guess there are not too many mathematically inclined entrepreneurs in this audience, or you haven't woken up yet. Rahul, you have coffee waiting outside to wake people up? Let's look at the 21st century. Again, troubled times. But look at the game-changing, life-changing innovations that have taken place in these very troubled times. Sergey Brin, Larry Page with Google, Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, Jack Dorsey with Twitter, Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX, Chad Hurley with YouTube. The list is endless. They're just a small sample of the entrepreneurs who are implementing game-changing, life-changing innovations, products and services, creating wealth for themselves. They've even helped change governments and depose dictators in the Middle East. I would respectfully submit to our governments here, Maharashtra or India, please consider, instead of all of the junk you do, creating a department or a ministry of entrepreneurship and small business. Unfortunately, we don't have any politicians in the crowd, otherwise I'd be talking right to them. What they need to do is to encourage the formation of these businesses in these turbulent times. Forget about state-run unwieldy programs. Remove the mind-boggling impediments. We still have a whole bunch of mind-boggling impediments that stop people from doing business. Make our courts more responsive. Not take 15 years to look at the case on intellectual property theft. And develop a true private-public partnership. This will make Nagpur the new Bangalore or Hyderabad of India, I would believe, only better, because it's greener and cleaner than those two cities. And finally, to all the bureaucrats, policymakers and politicians in India and across the world, I would once again respectfully submit that don't worry about your top-down driven programs. Don't worry about all these unwieldy economic policies that you keep obsessing over. Just liberate your entrepreneurs, free them from their cages, and let their vision, ideas, dogged determination, and innovations get the world out of these troubled and turbulent times again. Thank you all very much. I've been told I should stay here. I got the signal.
We'll have a short Q&A session.
Q&A. Yeah, get up and yell out a question if you have one. I wasn't that compelling, was I? Or maybe you are all asleep. Questions? Yes.
As you mentioned, our position is
132nd. Yes, you're off by 28. Did you all hear the question? What should we as entrepreneurs be doing? Because we're not government. We rank 132nd in the world. Well, there's two things we have to do, which I think any citizen should do and any entrepreneurially inclined person should do. One is keep pressuring the government to change, to get rid of some of these impediments and obstacles that exist. But two is to sort of ignore them, compartmentalize your frustration at the impediments and look for opportunities that exist. We have lots of examples of very successful Indian entrepreneurs who have built huge businesses by finding windows of opportunity. And when times are turbulent or times of trouble like they are today, the opportunities are greater than when everything is hunky-dory. So those, I mean, it's kind of a trite answer. It's not really specific to what I think you're asking, but that's about the best I think we can do, is to keep looking for those opportunities and sort of try to get, you've heard the old parable of the camel with the nose under the tent of the Arab. You've heard that story. The nose gets in, then the head gets in, the neck gets in, and the whole body gets in. And that's the only approach you can do. Did everyone hear the question? I turned into an entrepreneur at the age of 40. Well, from the age of... I'm 63 now, so I've done 23 years of it. I had a very well-paying job. I was the president of a very large company, and I had my own private plane, and I do miss that. But I had lived my life to that point like a caged animal. I'd use that comparison of living your life like a caged animal when you end up doing something that's not entrepreneurial, when you are infected with that virus. Yes, because you're working for somebody else. You got a chairman, you got a board of directors, and you got the whole business of just being part of this great... Well, I was president of a company that was part of a much bigger company also. It was a telephone company, which are the worst when it comes to bureaucracy. So, but all my life, I'd sort of, fate had pushed me from job to job to job, albeit all well-paying jobs, but there came a point in my life, it was an epiphany, that said, you're either going to do it now and get out of this cage and give it a try, and if it fails, you can always go back to wage slavery, but give it a try. And it just seemed to me, it was just me, that at 40, it was now or never. The kids were still young enough so that if they went hungry, they weren't going to complain too loudly. That I had to give it a try. So that was my story. Different people have different stories. They're all valid. And different people also have the story of having failed and picking themselves up and trying again. So that also is very admirable. Because I think the culture in the United States particularly is failure is not excoriated. Failure is celebrated. Was that decent enough answer? I got away with that one? Yes, we have the gentleman. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. As a Thai member, how can we influence the government in its policy? Well, we try. We try at Thai global level. We try with the Thai leadership in each and every place. For instance, I was in Cochin for their TiEcon. In fact, Rahul was there too. And we certainly ganged up on the chief minister and put the idea of this Ministry of Entrepreneurship on him, and he promised to do it. Now, I'll be back in Cochin soon, and I'm going to try and meet him again and try to see whether he will do what he promised to do, but he's a politician.
Excuse me, sir.
But we keep trying. That's all we can do, both from a Thai global perspective and individual management, such as Nagpur will try to influence the state of Maharashtra and maybe the town of Nagpur. And I think certainly what Thai Nagpur has done with the incubator, the Raisoni Thai Nagpur incubator, is one giant step. As he said, it was the first in India and only the second in all of the Thai system. We've got about 9 incubators now all across Thai, out of the 61 cities. But certainly great credit to Nagpur for being the first in India.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Certainly. My question is also on the same lines.
Yes.
I am the first person to run two-wheelers through LPG gas way back in 87. So it was shown on national news, everything, but I could not bring it on the roads. There are so difficult rules for patenting. I have done one patent in 2008, but till now I didn't get anything, no answer. They are always saying that it is in examination, under examination. So I have made a battery which works through water. It can...
And your question is?
My question is that the rules are so difficult in India. Patenting is very difficult.
Yes. Well, that's why you rank 132nd.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunately a problem, and I don't have the answer for you on that, other than we keep pounding away at them. I would hope. I mean, in the end, guys, we get the government we deserve. That's, I mean, even for the 8 years when George Bush was our president of the United States, and I thought of moving to Holland, we get the government we deserve. So 51% of the country voted for that guy. So we have to be activists in our own right and try to change the government that is being unresponsive. So I know it's easy to say, hard to do, but maybe you ought to take these innovative products and go somewhere else that'll accept patents and maybe form a beachhead there and then come back to India with it. I would think. I mean, if you keep hitting the brick wall, you may want to look somewhere else. You get hurt. Yes. Deers? Wow, we got about 5 metaphors in one question. I am not sure I understand. You rely on your own legs, I would think, as an entrepreneur. You want to rely on anybody else, and that's, I think, part of our DNA is that we don't know when to quit. If you do quit quickly, you're really not an entrepreneur. You're a guy who said, gee, Mark Zuckerberg made $26 billion by being an entrepreneur. Maybe I want to be like him, but you're really not one. So I think you're going to rely on your own self. And get help from mentors, get help from organizations like TiE. Other than that, you're on your own, pal. Yes, question in the back there. I hope that answered your question, though. No? Close enough. No, my contention is you cannot. People either have it or they don't. And those that have it should be encouraged to let it flourish. And unlike somebody like me who sat like a caged animal for 18 years and didn't let it flourish because there were no organizations like TiE that could get me out of my cage. Or I didn't get myself out of my cage. So my contention is you either have it or you don't. You have the appetite for risk or you don't have the appetite for risk. You may have it and you don't know it, which is a different thing. But if you're risk averse, don't be an entrepreneur. Go find somebody else to help you, but don't be one. That's my contention.
I agree with that. But every discussion that I take this with my employees also, I try to put that entrepreneurship skills in them and motivate them. But at one point of time, I understand even an entrepreneur requires non-entrepreneurs to execute his ideas. You make people entrepreneurs, you motivate your employees to act like an entrepreneur, and suddenly you find after 6 months you open a gap. And you find your idea, you see requires.
So your question is? Of course. Entrepreneurs shouldn't surround themselves with too many type A's. Too many type A's in one room other than a room like this is a pretty dangerous thing. So you do need to have non-entrepreneurs who like a salary, who like a job. I mean, when you're talking about making them entrepreneurs, you're really not talking about making them entrepreneurs. You're talking about empowering them, talking about delegating to them. You're talking about rewarding them. But you're not trying to say, oh, go become a competitor of mine tomorrow with exactly what I do and steal my intellectual property. That's not what you want to do. So really, entrepreneurs tend to have maybe entrepreneurs as partners, business partners, but not their employees to a large extent. I mean, certainly that's been my experience. I can only give you from my own experience that when I had businesses that were pretty substantial as startups, 1,000 people, I would say maybe 5 or 6 of those 1,000 were truly entrepreneurially inclined. The rest were all pretty good people, but they were not entrepreneurs. They were delegated to, and they took ownership, and they did their stuff. But the terror of making payroll is something an entrepreneur handles. You understand what I just said? The terror of making payroll. I think that is what defines who an entrepreneur is. If there's a single one-line definition for an entrepreneur, it's you have to make payroll for somebody else. Not for yourself, because then you're a consultant probably. But if you have to make payroll for somebody else, like I would contend that somebody who runs a large law practice is an entrepreneur. He's got lawyers that work for him, paralegals that work for him, secretaries that work for him. So he's an entrepreneur, or she's an entrepreneur. Yes. Yeah. So that question you ought to really not take up with me, but with a mentor that I can assign you, because that's a mentoring kind of thing that somebody who's been through that problem can help you with. I could probably too, but I'd have to understand more. So, bribe them. Selling is bribery to a large extent. I don't know. You do whatever you can. I mean, I got 100 different examples. I came up through my non-entrepreneurial career as a sales guy. I was a salesman, commission only, my first job. And that's, you learn